Welcome to the Breck Epic Podcast, the creative and cleverly named Breck Epic Podcast. I'm joined today for the Summer Series 2026 by Uri Carlson. Uri is Breck Epic's official nutritionist, dietitian. She wears a lot of different hats. Bear with me 1 second. I'm getting a ton of feedback in my headphones, which is
Okay.
why you sort this out in advance. That's what the pros would do. So, YouTube's live, which is great. Thank you for anyone who's joining us while we do a quick shakedown cruise here, see what's working. And I'm going to jump back out into the Facebook page. And we'll be editing all this out before we officially publish this. But if you're a live listener, you're taking a peek behind the curtain.
Just get comfy. We're real people, right?
Oh my goodness. I look at the amazing job that the Unbound people did, and then I look at my traveling circus. But as I pointed out in the email that I sent, yeah, totally. We're going to figure it out as we go. Dang it. I find this is going to nominate me for old man status. I find Facebook ridiculously hard to navigate compared to how it used to be.
It is.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. All these events were listed on our page. There we go. I'm going to hit go live. And I think I'm probably going to have 3 audio streams in my ear. Looks like it's working. What a great time for you and I to just jump in.
Perfect.
So, let's start with an intro. Today, on the Breck Epic Podcast series, I'm joined by Uri Carlson, who, as I mentioned earlier, wears a ton of different hats. Uri is a mom, an extremely qualified professional as a nutritionist and dietitian. She's the owner of InnerWild Nutrition. She's Epic's official nutritionist. She's also an Epic vet. She is an ambassador for some of the bike industry's amazing brands. SkratchLabs is at the top of that list. Juliana. And she is the subject of one of my favorite pictures from the race of all time. That's Uri, yeah, at the top of Wheeler in a Supergirl t-shirt, hoodie combo, doling out bacon, which, as you said earlier, we're all human, and that picture proves it more than anything.
That is a good one. I don't know who gave me that shirt, but I think that was the year I was up there with a bunch of my junior mountain bike athletes, and they were all wearing like these white, like hazmat suits, and someone proposed up there and got engaged, and we were serving bacon, and it was fun.
Oh, that was the year. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. The Dirt Rag tribe brought a bride and groom Scott and Jessica, and they decided they were going to get married on Wheeler. And Rich Dillon, Team Dickey, who has one of the best blogs in the bike industry, he's such a creative mind, such an interesting human, officiated, got his able to marry people license, and we have picked what a great year. And yeah, you right, there were white hazmat suits which you could get really cheaply if you buy a lot of them. And and so we did, and we made a Breck Epic stencil and stenciled Breck Epic on the front of them. The inspiration was those old Intel ads with all those people who could dance, like wearing those cool multicolored suits. And it's really a step towards a unique vision of having everyone up on Wheeler in inflatable T-Rex costumes. Just like that's a vision that I want to give our riders when they go home. Mm-hmm. Uri, I want to thank you for joining us. I started the podcast a couple weeks ago with Adam Nicholson from Sand Noodle Designs, and that was my first sort of infant step into the Riverside podcasting platform. I want to spend a minute telling people why we're here. We did webinars last year, which you and Taylor were such an enormous part of. We wanted to tell people about gear. We wanted to tell them about nutrition, which is where you mostly land, but not all, the courses, and then training and coaching. And we hosted those on Zoom, which at the time seemed great. And for the most part, is and was. Great participation, great viewership, but kind of a clinical environment. And people listen to podcasts, and I don't know that they listen to Zoomcasts. So we made the switch to this, and we're figuring out along the way. And you are officially the second guest, but you're the first video guest because I didn't know enough to link up our social channels and have video ready for people. So lots of hats. Let's start with one. I'm really interested in, like, you're qualified in so many ways to contribute to this conversation, but as the child of a mother who's going through a hard time right now with a recent cancer diagnosis, you're the mom of a young kid, and you have to find a way to make your life work. And what you have going on is every bit as complex as planning for a big 6-day stage race. Do you have a set of rules or a way to express your learning curve of being a mom and a professional and an athlete and a wife all at the same time? Where do you start? Like, how do you unmap that? That's not even a word.
I know what you mean, but
Thank you.
no, I don't. It's so much day by day, week to week, month to month. I mean, especially running a business, there's just so much variability in it. I don't think anyone can create their own formula that's repeatable week after week, year after year, who's balancing all of the parts of life. And for me, that can include my own variables. And for you, that can include your own variables. I think, honestly, it's like prioritizing what's the most important use of your time, and sometimes that becomes more the kid, and sometimes that becomes more the business, and sometimes that becomes more me. And you have to be okay with the variability, and it's kind of a wild roller coaster to ride.
That applies whether you're a parent or you have conflicting interests in everything. Like, sometimes the chaos can be overwhelming. Yeah. And like, I talked to you, when we first joined about, you asked me how I was doing. I was like, I didn't sleep last night. Like, I have anxiety we have 2 podcasts today. I want this to look nice. We have a Castelli order to finalize and, get out. And I'm putting Castelli under the gun because we're real time crunched right now. And that's me, not them. And I think about this a lot. I tell the staff every year, hey, I want to talk about the concept of pre-forgiveness. We are going to do a lot right, and we're going to see some curveballs. Like, let's just agree that everyone's doing their best, and we're going to move right past the problem, and we're not going to point fingers, and we're going to get right into the solutions. But know that not everything's going to go right. My kids are a little older than yours. Mm-hmm. I have a 17 and an almost 20. And I don't think I had rules or a strategy either. What I had was the ability to compartmentalize. And I think that it's like a muscle. When you exercise it, it grows. And my philosophy was, always try to be a good parent. Try to be a good business person. Try to, be ethical, be the person you want your kids to be. But you develop comfort with chaos. I don't know that we're any better at this than we were 20 years ago, but we're less stressed about it because I think we trust that we're going to make good decisions in real time, which is also, I think, a part of most people's brains, particularly people who have a lot of mileage with an ADHD brain. You learn a lot about curveballs because you get a lot of self-inflicted ones. So you had, as a mom, I mean, that's my experience also. And I've got a big race to plan for too, just like all of you who might be watching this. It's, if I stop to consider how much there's left to do, I think I would maybe spiral into the pit of despair. But that's every year. You do the best you can in the moment. I think being reactive to who needs what at what time is perfectly appropriate. And I know, and you probably know the same, when the moment calls for you to stay up late or to get up early, that's what you do. And I don't know that 20-year-old Mike McCormick understood that, but 55-year-old Mike McCormick does. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about, before we jump into nutrition, because your role there and your contribution to our ecosystem is amazing. Also, as a coach of kids, of humans, of adults, you raced with us, and that was, I think, before you were a mom. Is that right? Yeah. Do you have a particular memory that jumps out at you? Was it can be a "this sucks" memory? Like, that's okay.
Oh gosh. So many highs and lows. I remember, well, gosh, what do we want to call it? Where do we start? I have high memories of the descent off the back of Wheeler. That was so fun to do with a bunch of people. I remember there was this team of a crew of guys from somewhere in South America. I'm not sure exactly where. We were hiking our bikes up to get to Wheeler, and they were all singing and just having the best time. And that was amazing because I'm so
Bizarre.
used to doing all these rides by myself, right? Like these rides I can just go and do on my back door. And it's really fun as a local to suddenly be able to go out there and do these rides with a bunch of people who have never been there before and are just so stoked and in awe of it, when I'm like, wow, this provides an incredible perspective for somebody like me that's like, I don't even think about it too much before I go out and do those rides. So there was just a lot of moments like that where I was like, holy cow, let's take a look around and recognize where I am from the perspective of other people that have never been here before.
It's a great
I
takeaway.
remember that being a big thing.
You go to Moab, and this is always sort of my patient zero of this observation, and you ride with a local, and they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to do this. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then you realize that what they think is normal and what you think is normal is ridiculously different.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true of North Shore riders, the Vancouver, the BC area. It's certainly true of Breck. Like, we don't think much about going out for 3 or 4 hours at altitude, and our pack is dialed from experience, and the climbs are long and the descents are ridiculous. And in our best moments, we stop and remember to enjoy the view. We try to remind people of that throughout the week. Thank you for defanging Wheeler a little bit. People have anxiety about that.
Oh,
And it's hard. It's long.
yeah.
It's short and long at the same time on Earth too. But as we tell people, like, you don't have to do it. You get to do it. You earn the right to do it. And the right tire wheel combo, wheel is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Attitude counts for a lot also. Let's Yeah, that's an interesting memory, an interesting observation to remember that this place is magnificent, and as locals, we sometimes forget that. Usually, the drive to Frisco from Breck reminds me, as I look at Peak One, like it's just so in your face, and
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, we live in a high alpine environment, and how amazing is that? I think most of the people who visit us take that away. I
Yeah.
want to know about your nutrition background. Like you are certified,
Mm-hmm.
accomplished. Like your body of knowledge here is immense, both as an academic and from practical application. Spend a few minutes and tell us about your academic accolades. Like, who's Uri Carlson professionally?
Well, I'll say I became a dietitian because I was racing. I was really into trail running and cross country racing on my bike, and I had no idea what I was doing with my nutrition. But my friends and I were both talking about it all the time. And sometimes I would feel great, and sometimes I would feel horrible, and I couldn't figure out why. I knew it wasn't a lack of training because that was dialed. I knew it was something else, and I started to get specific about my nutrition, and I learned like, oh my gosh, this is the true game changer here. And I went to CMC and I took a nutrition class, Colorado Mountain College right here in Breck, and I took a nutrition class and was like, oh, you can do this. This can be a thing. And was like, all right, well, if this can support me and my friends and it can also be a career, then I've found my dream job. I went to Bastyr University in Seattle, which is where I got my degree in dietetics and nutrition, and they're very focused on like whole and real food, so less of the clinical side of nutrition, but more of the like whole real food side of nutrition, which I really appreciate, and that's the reason that I went there. And then, yeah, I mean, since 2012, when I was doing my dietetic internship, I started working with SkratchLabs when they were kind of just taking off, starting their first Feed Zone cookbook with Bijou Thomas and Alan Lim, and consider myself very fortunate and lucky to have Alan as a mentor of mine and somebody that I got to work alongside, whether it was making thousands and thousands of rice cakes or just learning what it's about to take care of an athlete from the human side of things, of the fact that, hey, sitting down with them and talking to them like a real person, even though they're on this pedestal as a pro tour rider, is just as important as giving them that pedestal and having honest conversations with them and feeding them food that they enjoy. So there's the science element of nutrition that I really value, of course, from the space of dietetics, but there's also the emotional side and the fact that food is not just about macros and calories and numbers. It's about taking care of the human and making it fit into your life and all that kind of stuff. So in my work, I really focus on that, and I think it's important to focus on that to create a realistic strategy that's going to work for somebody based on like what you and I were just talking about, Mike, the fact that most of us have a million things going on in our lives. And if we're trying to fit ourselves into a box based on a bunch of numbers and that's it, then we're not going to ever be able to fit into that box. So we have to consider all the other elements of that. So yeah, I mean it's been my experience professionally as an athlete, personally as an athlete, professionally as a dietitian, working with Scratch, doing my dietetic internship, um, all of that, getting my master's degree in nutrition and continuing to build my business, that's kind of allowed me to end up where I am today, helping athletes all over the world, whether it's those that are aiming for the Olympics or people just like trying to manage it all and wanting to feel better doing what they do.
I think your history touches base. I love how you invoke, the key points of people who inspired you and mentored you along the way. You mentioned Alan, and I was an early ideological adopter of Alan as the owner of a janky culinary degree. After I got a real degree, I went back to school because I wasn't really contributing to society, and I loved cooking, and I didn't go to the Cordon Bleu. I went to a place where they teach you how not to poison people in an institutional setting, right? It's just, but food science and sanitation is a really great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2 year degree, technical college, after a real college, and been, one of the formative experiences of my life. I come at it from a different angle. I love to feed people. I'm an old Italian lady in a short Scottish guy's body. And like, there's no greater compliment than someone saying, I'll have thirds. There's a great scene in the animated Lorax movie where one of the little chipmunks goes to the Onceler and says, ninths. He's holding up his pancake plate. What I also love about where you come from is the fact that it's anchored in reality. Like, everyone's needs are different, and
Yeah.
in big efforts, whether they span 6 days or 6 years, you got to meet your body where it is. You got to listen. You got to not just eat well in your effort, but recover. And don't do what people tell you to do. Do what's right for you. Become a student of you. That you've always preached that. You have this ability to laugh at the body's need for a Dorito, right? Like, you don't want people to eat those as a staple, but as a mental crutch, I think you're kind of on board. Same way with bacon.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Alan says, and that I will continue to take from Alan, like this is his quote, is the worst thing for you when you're sitting on the couch all day can be the best thing for you when you're sitting on your bike all day. And that is so key, especially for something like the Breck Epic, right? And it's just not worth it for people to get caught up in, like, is this healthy or is this whatever it might be? It's not often that we get to ride our bikes for day after day after day after day, and that's really our only job. It's an incredible thing, but that brings up a completely different nutrition strategy than if you were, I mean, even you're riding your bike for an hour or two every single day and then sitting at your desk and working the rest of the day. There's a lot of difference here in what we do in a week like the Breck Epic versus anything else, compared to anything else.
It's like just kind of a choose your own adventure book. If you
Yeah.
put in the time on your bike, like, it opens some other doors for you. I used to uh, I used to ride, mostly because I loved it, but then I really didn't think about going out to a bar with friends. I didn't drink, I didn't ride so I could drink beer, but there was an offset. And I think about that more transactionally, as an older man. I ride my bike so I can eat ice cream. It's that simple. And also, I still ride my bike. But, one unlocks the other. Let's get a little more transactional here. Start by defining the difference between nutritionist and dietitian.
Okay, so dietitian has to go to school for a specific degree, specific requirements within that degree. They have to they have to do a specific internship where they get experience in various different fields of nutrition. Working in a hospital, working in a clinical setting, working in a private practice setting, working in a community setting, food service, all sorts of different things. And then they have to pass an exam, and then they have to get continuing education credits every 5 years in a cycle to maintain their credential.
Okay.
And, I mean, you, Mike, could go and take a class, any class about nutrition, whether it's online or at Colorado Mountain College or whatever it is, and you could call yourself a nutritionist. So anyone can be a nutritionist. All dietitians are nutritionists. Not all nutritionists are dietitians, basically. It's not to say there aren't some awesome nutritionists out there, but it's up to the consumer then to figure out and make sure that the nutritionist is going to provide them with what they're looking for and is going to be a good fit for them and is going to be, just legitimate, really. So yeah, there's a difference, and in the world of health coaches and nutritionists, and it's a lot for the consumer, honestly, to figure out. So I just say to the consumer, is like, be mindful of that and do your research to figure out
Okay.
who you want to work with.
Again, like reading your environment and the room and yourself and assessing your own needs. And
Mm-hmm.
our industry, the broader outdoor industry is filled with vendors isn't really the best word, but people who can help you navigate your journey if you're looking for performance or wellness. And there's really a broad spectrum of what people hope to get out of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Events like ours are a little bit all encompassing. It's man, you look at the world right now and there's so much hard stuff. Like I look at our race and I think, oh, it's not that hard. And then I get on site, I'm like, holy shit. Like every year I'm floored by you see how people show up on day 4 and it's different than day 1. And they're pretty happy. Like they're happy to be there. But the anxiety of day 0 is gone.
Mm-hmm.
The adrenaline of day 1 is for sure gone. And on day 4, you got a bunch of like warriors in the trenches, making themselves get up every day. We don't start obscenely early. That's bad manners. But I stand at aid bag drop off every morning with a cup of coffee and I greet people. Kind of because the staff told me to do that. I think they wanted me out of the ops room. And it's important to be present for people. You know that as someone who is a guide of all kinds of journeys like these. And I'm less of a guide than you are. I'm more of a social director, I think. Like showing them being available. And, you pass along to people like really transactional knowledge, but you're also a mental coach. And you have to analyze where your clients are every day.
Yes.
You have a great line about Leadville. Do you know which one I'm talking about? About,
Oh, the DNFs.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
hear it.
I was listening to a webinar about nutrition and with Leadville and Lifetime, and they were talking about how I want to say it's 84, 85% of the DNFs at Leadville are nutrition related.
Wow.
That's a high number.
It's a different kind of effort, a really prolonged effort
Yeah.
where you're cratering your body in just one day. Someone made a comment to me last year. It was one of the women from the women's tour from our elite field. She said bodies weren't meant for this. Like you wouldn't take
Mm,
a marathoner and ask them to do 6 marathons in a row. You wouldn't ask them to submit themselves to a summer's worth of marathons. So you look at the Grand Prix, you look at us, you look at Park City Point to Point, you look at all the other like big 3 hour plus efforts. And you've got people notching off a dozen of these, 16 of them. That's insane. Like
yeah.
how we're going to approach this from the backside first. How do you recover from that? And if you have a 6 day stage race and then go to another big race, like how do you put the pieces back together?
I mean, you can't do it 100%. You're never going to get, to reset and be at 100% the next day and the next day and the next day, but you have to do the best you can to chase that threshold and not get below it, where it's going to start to negatively impact performance. So I think that's an important thing for people, like a perspective for folks to have is like, no, I have to set realistic expectations for myself to recover, but it's all these little opportunities that you have for each meal, for each snack, for each thing that you consume. I remember specifically standing in the back of the Riverwalk Center last year, Mike, on the day 1 riders meeting. And I was thinking about, okay, if Mike lets me get up on stage right now, here's what I'm going to say. And I'm
I
going to
should
say
have.
this because
I
I
talk
was
about
watching
cratering.
people come in. I was watching people come in and they don't have anything in their hands. And I'm like, I want people to know that this is a recovery contest right now. The recovery
I s-
contest literally starts right now. And if you are going to go and sit down for the next, I mean, how long are the riders meetings?
Too long.
Okay, next
Well, there.
hour.
Yeah, I shoot for my part to get wrapped up in 45 minutes and change.
Yeah.
And then we have an hour's worth of awards, and we schedule that so that not everyone needs to stay for awards, which I don't think
Yep.
is great for the people receiving them, but it's deferential to the majority of the field.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah,
right there. you're going to be sitting there. You don't have to be worrying about your bike. You can't be washing your bike. You can't be organizing your stuff for the next day, but you can be eating and drinking. So take that as an opportunity to even just like bring a bottle and have some carbohydrates in it and have some electrolytes in it and eat something. I had two athletes, one of them who I was working with at the time and another one who I know. They came to that writers meeting like they were going to the movies. Like they had their cup, they had their snacks. I'm like, that's what every single one of you should be doing right now.
You're a proud mama. Yeah.
Yes.
It's we started backwards with recovery, and that really is, the second step of a two-step process. Probably three steps. There's prep, then there's in-event fueling and recovery, and you need to have strategy. Not
Mm-hmm.
just at our event, but specifically at our event, because 6 days in a row is hard. 3 days in a row is hard. The mega
Yeah.
epic is obscene.
Mm-hmm.
So that we had Kara Matthews from Chamois Butter join us last year, and she set up a recovery station with squeezy legs and snacks and soft seating, and I was blown away because we feel pretty good about our ability to meet riders where they are and being observant and being a good host. And she did something that just gave me a holy shit moment. Like, why aren't we doing this? And like, we need to do more of this, not less. And Kara, it possesses a lot of energy. And I particularly, like you mentioned, stage one, and we had a tough year last year. We had some key staff like get sick and have family issues that pulled 5 or 6 key people out at the
Mm-hmm.
last minute. We were absolutely scrambling, like holding on by our fingernails. And like you mentioned earlier about parenting, you doing the best you can. I was in front of that audience on stage one, and I hadn't slept in days, and it showed. It absolutely showed. But I was also like, what a cool place to have a rider meeting. I don't know that we'll ever get back in there, but man, just that's what we want to send people home with, like that building and that attention to them. What Kara did and bringing you on board, you've been with us for a while, but SkratchLabs is new last year, and then Anthony, who was one of our finish line captains, you all kind of said individually, we need to do a better job taking care of people at the athlete tent. And so that's been a huge focus this year. I'm calling it Aid 4 in my mind. But that's the service course area. That's where, there's the bike wash there. We have a million local kids from the mountain bike teams who will help wash bikes. We
Mm-hmm.
have Shimano's there. Orange Seal is there. Specialized is bringing, a huge, like they're creating a program around big events to take care of not their pros, but their riders. Like the people at the Epic sign up in a lot of cases for a wrench plan with one of the local vendors, and Specialized is offering that specialized riders. It's amazing. What we're doing is we're building Aid 4. Like, I'm peeling Anthony off of the finish line station at 3 o'clock every day, and he's coming back to the tent to make rice cakes and pancakes and rosemary roasted potatoes and big vats of recovery drink from scratch.
Yeah.
And we're going to force food on people and make their week better by having those things available. And that's a tribute to you guys. Like, really, sometimes I feel that, like, I wish my processing speed was a little bit quicker. And like, that's not, you have to be so vigilant about everything that week, and sometimes things slip by you. And I
Yeah.
leave each race, I've said this before, with a list of 1,000 things that I suck at. Need to improve. The kerning on a font was wrong. Like, it really gets into the minutia. But that's one of them. Recovery, like making it available. Recovery within reach. I think of it.
Yeah.
So, and
Absolutely.
that is a you thing, and that's a SkratchLabs thing, and that's an Ellen Lim thing. Like, a commitment to putting real food in people's hands, which,
Mm-hmm.
as someone who loves to cook, I understand the value of. We can't just consume sugar for a race week. You're not going to have a good week if that's all you're eating. And you don't want to eat in the morning by day 3 or 4. So we're
Yeah.
going to make it available in the afternoon. Getting back to your Leadville comment, like how many of those efforts, like the percentages, mid 80s, high 80s, they fail because of fueling. You and I are going to sit down with Taylor over the course of the next 2 months and like dig in, and map things out for people. We're going to talk about what Skratch is bringing. We're going to talk about how riders can order stuff from Skratch, and we're going to go pick it up for them and have it waiting for them. Like they have a specific flavor or a product that we might not have or stock. They can order it, and there's an epic discount that we'll send out, and then we'll have it waiting with their name on it at the race. So they don't have to put it on an airplane or drive it from Connecticut.
Yeah.
In a general sense, let's talk about race fueling. From last year, you and Taylor were like, every 20 to 30 minutes, you need to be taking something on. We can map out your caloric needs every day. And that's hard. It's a practice. But take us into, from 10,000 feet, what a basic fueling strategy looks like for, and it changes, right? Whether you're an elite athlete or a back of the packer. Suffering's pretty equal. Everyone's breathing through the same size straw. What does fueling look like for a mortal?
So you're looking at, basically, you've got your bottles, right, which you can put carbohydrate in, and you can have a combination of fuel in your bottles, along with your electrolytes and along with your fluid, which is key, of course. And what I mean by key is like making sure you've got fluid and you've got electrolytes, not just pure water in your bottles. Decide if you want to add carbs or not to that, or if you want what's in your bottles to purely be hydration, and then figure out where you're getting the rest of your carbohydrates. On the low end, people are consuming 30 to 50 grams of carbs per hour. 50 to 70 grams of carbs per hour is kind of mid-range. 80 to 110 is the higher range, and then 110 plus is the like high range, like the elite range.
Yeah.
What I want people to recognize is that more is not necessarily better, especially if their gut can't tolerate, and especially if they literally can't. There is a skill that comes with fueling. If they can't get it in, because taking their hands off the handlebars, being on technical terrain, taking their bottle out of the cage, putting it back, all the logistics of fueling are a thing too. So that's a good thing to start to practice now. But you've got to think about what your hourly goal is. It doesn't, and this is based on research, it doesn't really matter so much whether you get, let's say you have a goal of 60 grams of carbs per hour. It doesn't matter whether you get that in every single hour or, 20, 20, 20, right? 20 grams of carbs, 20 minutes in, 20 grams of carbs, 40 minutes in, 20 grams of carbs, 60 minutes in. That doesn't matter in terms of the energy that it's going to give you. That does matter in terms of the logistics of getting it in and in terms of how your gut is going to tolerate that. But what I want people to know is that, like, if they're better off with consuming, 2 doses of 30 grams every 30 minutes or 1 dose of 60 grams every hour, do what's going to be best for you. And this, with something like the Breck Epic, is going to depend a lot on the terrain, right? Are you hiking your bike? Are you going down a long 20-minute descent that you have to fuel for ahead of time because you don't want to take your hands off the handlebars or slow down for that? There's all the logistics of when you are going to fuel that's important to pay attention to. But the main thing is being consistent with it, not getting to the point where suddenly it's 2 hours and you're like, oh shoot, I fueled once in the last 2 hours and now I have to pull myself out of a hole. I think aid bags can be like massively utilized. It's so good to have so many different options in aid bags. They're just like such an amazing opportunity that's not always there, where you can literally put in whatever it is you might possibly want. Put in some carbohydrates, put in some liquid carbs, have a bottle that's already mixed and ready to go, put in some chewable stuff, put in some savory stuff, put in like a baked good or a muffin, or put in like a half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in case you might want that. Those aid bags are such a great opportunity to set yourself up for I think I might want this, so I'm going to set myself up with it just in case, but I don't have to carry the whole thing with me. So those are some of the things I've been talking with my Breck Epic athletes about, as like my roster is a small handful of folks that are training for that and thinking about that right now leading into the summer season.
They're big backcountry courses. We know from our experience with
Hmm.
the firecracker, like when we built that, we wanted people to be able to go long but fast, which meant that we wanted to have what they needed every 7 miles, in a strategic feed zone where they actually had time to grab it and consume it. And that's a bottle hand up kind of feed zone. And that's the best 50-mile mountain bike race on the planet. It still is. It's incredible. And the joy, the organization, the parade, the course, like it all adds up. Like it's a really special day, and it's also still like delightfully mom and pop. I've been secretly wishing, like when I go to bed at night, I look up to the stars and I pray, hey, let me put some lipstick on this thing. Like let me not really Breck Epic it, but let me readjust the bunting a little bit. Let me show you where to get the good number plates. And like the people that put on that
Hmm.
race, they're so focused on mission and operations, and that's great. Like those are the important things. And they're also like my old partner Jeff took it over. When I started having kids, and then he sold it to the town of Breck, and like its legacy lives on. But you bring your bike, we're gonna worry about everything else. Like that ethos is very Breck Epic. Like that's carried over. And the aid bag system, you described it perfectly. Have your stuff in those aid
Hmm.
bags. We get asked a lot, will there be bottle hand ups? No, no, like we can't do that. Not in this economy.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
but we have this aid bag system that's better than a bottle hand up. It's your stuff, a bag full of it, like a legit grocery bag. And most people know, I'm an aid bag nerd in terms of construction, and we got sick ones coming in that are just amazing. Like it's a 20-year long journey to get these. But the the Ironman people came in 2017, and one of the people who joined us was the race director from the Cape Epic to look at what we were doing and how we did it. And she wasn't incredibly kind, very South African, very blunt, but she made a few comments that you got to forgive that stuff. And I probably also would have made comments that were less than constructive in that were 10 years ago. But she looked at the A bag system and she said, "We're getting rid of this. This is dumb." And the thought bubble in my head, was like, you should go fuck yourself. And like that's not nice. And I was trying to, and that was also like day 5 of a long week. And in moments of reflection, I was like, "Oh yeah, I see where she's coming from with that." And I really need to sit down and explain to her, if this moves forward, why we do things this way. That
Hmm.
it's a particular set of circumstances with the Forest Service. Like we can't have. They're not roads. Like we don't have the ability to park 100 cars at an aid station. These are remote. And when you get there, like the aid station looks like a big deal. Like there's a mechanics aid station, there's 2 tents, there's vats of electrolytes and water and peanut butter jelly sandwiches and fruit, and then 500 aid bags lined up in numerical and color
Yeah.
order, and then volunteers calling out your number and handing you your aid bag with it
It's
open. What do you
amazing.
need? How can I
Yep.
help? What you said is really important to remember. It's not always convenient to eat. If you're going downhill for 20 minutes, and you're going to be doing that a lot here,
Yep.
you don't want to take your hand off the bar. So there's this great adage about cycling, and I think this is attributed to the Tour de France or any Grand Tour. Don't stand when you can sit. Don't sit when you can lay down. Don't be awake when you can sleep. And for us, don't not eat when you can eat. Don't get stuff on board. You probably saw me looking distracted a few minutes ago. Simon Pelode raced with us last year. He's in the Grand Prix this year. Last year also, he published what he ate
Mm.
during Unbound, and he published his watts. 283 average watts. Holy shit. One crash, 2 times dropped chain, 5 times it's a reinflate his tire on a leaking valve. Way too much chasing is his quote. 10,243 kilojoules, 6,000 kcal in race intake, 10 liters of liquid intake, 1,500 grams of carbs. and rode the last 3K on his insert. Placed 15th, which isn't insane. You're like, oh, that guy didn't even make the podium. You know how fast 15th is in that field with all of that strafe?
Yeah.
What do you think of those caloric numbers?
They're that's what those folks need to be taking in. You know,
Bonkers.
it's like I think it's awesome that they're starting to share that stuff, and I think that it's awesome that we're getting away from this eating is cheating thing, or like I'm gonna be better, or I'm on a higher pedestal if I can get away with less, or I'm working harder if every single effort feels hard and I can barely stand when I'm done. I'm really glad that that's going away, and I hope it never comes back. Um, because yeah, you have to fuel for the work required, and that's the work required for those people. And the thing that I want people to also recognize is that that's not the work required for all people. You know, if we have an age group or a mid back of the pack person feeling like they're doing it wrong because they're not taking in 120 grams of carbs per hour, then that's what I'm trying to help people get clarity on is what's going to be best for them based on their situation, not what anyone else is doing.
Meet yourself where you are,
Yeah.
and develop, become a student of your own biology,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're kind of you're putting it through something pretty extreme. I That's always amazed me about where you come from as a coach and a mentor yourself to help people understand their journey. And like, I know that this is about athletic performance and surviving the week, but it's also about cultivating better habits and feeling better when you wake up, just in general. Just having a better understanding of what works for you, not just in a performance setting, but in a daily setting. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about you specifically, like so talented and smart, but also so human. Like, it's grounded in there's a bigger benefit here, you know, and I circle back to like the huge smile on your face when you've got like 3 strips of bacon in your tongs. Like, isn't it great that you get to eat bacon right here? It's you're a coach. You've coached kids. You lead clinics. You
Mm-hmm.
are a nutritionist and dietitian. Tell us about how people can connect with you. Like, I think it's really important that they understand that you're a partner and there's a commercial aspect to that. But I always feel like how lucky I am to have the dentist that I have, or the mechanic that I have, or the accountant or the attorney. Like that's money that I'm happy to spend. Like those people are part of Team McCormick. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel blessed that I can have them with just money. Like, that's all it takes. But we've also chosen wisely, as a family, for those folks. You're clearly, in that as an advocate, as for nutrition, for mental health, for wellness. How do people find you, and what should they be doing 70 days out that might lead them to your doorstep?
Um, they can find me. I mean, I share a ton of information. I'm the most active on my Instagram page, which is Uri underscore Carlson underscore nutrition. If you just type in URI, you're probably going to see it there. There's not many of us on Instagram. So that's like, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, send me a voice memo. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what scares you. Let me know what's really challenging for you. Let me know what you're struggling with. A lot of people, they know they need to change their nutrition. They know that it's not working optimally for them, but they don't even know where to begin. And that keeps them stuck where they're at. So it really just becomes this like, hey, how much of a priority is this for you? And have you gone and done something like the Breck Epic before, or have you done another event before where your lack of nutrition has made it really terrible or caused a DNF or anything like that? Because then you've got this huge opportunity in front of you where it's not necessarily training related, but it's nutrition related. And I mean, I truly see nutrition as a superpower because you eat multiple times a day, every single day. You don't take a rest week from that.
Right.
it's a huge opportunity, and it can truly be a superpower if you pay attention to it. So I can talk with people about that. You know, if they're like, I don't even know where to begin, what would this look like for me? I can help them figure out if it's going to make sense for them. Um, I offer free discovery calls to anyone that's interested in that, just so that we can talk and make sure that it's what they want and what they need. There's no, you know, cost related with that. There's no commitment that comes with that. It's purely just that if I'm going to work with somebody, I want to make sure that I can help them and make sure that they're in and it's their priority, and that they're ready to go. So that's why I do those calls.
Do you have athletes in the
Um,
race this year?
yep.
Yeah.
I've got a handful of folks, and
Great.
yeah, and that's the next thing, is where to find me, is that I'll be there. I'll be there supporting those people, and I'll also be there at all the riders meetings. And anyone, literally anyone, is welcome to come up with me to me and talk to me and ask me questions. We had a lot of that. Taylor from Scratch, the dietitian at Scratch, and I had a lot of that last year, but we want more and more and more of it. So please, like, spread the word that we don't want people to hesitate, even if they're like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can I get confirmation that this is good? Or is there anything else you would change? Or like, this is what came up today, or whatever it is. If you have any questions about anything food and nutrition related, we're happy to talk about it.
You and Taylor are an amazing tag team there. I think I look at our medical support. I look at the PTs that are there. Like our medical team is led by Common Spirit, which is like the big hospital in Colorado, and it's St. Anthony's Summit, which is based in Frisco. But then a bunch of like it's UC Health. Like they operate on an elevated plane, and our medical team is enormous, and then they are augmented by Phil Summit Orthopedics, and those folks are on hand, irrigating boo-boos, doing some dry needling, like they do a ton of stuff. Like Common Spirit takes care of people on course, and Vail Summit Orthopedics takes care of people after the race, and where things are breaking down a little bit, and you kind of live in that sphere also, like you're providing service to the field in real time, which is amazing. I get a note from a parent of a young racer last year who, the first third was how he really enjoyed the experience, and then the last two thirds were how we needed to, provide more social posts for his athlete. And he paid a lot of money for this, and it got sideways super fast, and several weeks had gone by from the race, so I wasn't taking those things particularly seriously. And you have to separate the message from the delivery. In famous words of Charles Barkley from when he started in the NBA, it's an anecdote that I love. So the point that I was making in my head, another thought bubble, this one with less profanity, was, we spent a lot of our time keeping your daughter safe out there. And like, that's what you don't see. And this is hard and risky. And like, there's a medical person behind every tree. And there's 4 layers and satellite radios and helicopters on standby. And like, the medical planning is insane. But the holistic care and feeding of the field, which you're a part of, is also pretty evolved. Like, we're with each other for 7 days. It's a 6-day race, but we're all there. And if you're on the race course crew, we're with each other for 12 days. You are a part of that ecosystem, which is one of the things that I think is more steak than sizzle. Like, it doesn't show up. It's not something that we market heavily, but I'm so proud and so grateful to have you in our camp, because you provide the level of service. Like, I want people to go home with a little piece of Breck in their hearts. I want them to feel like they were cared for and seen, and that we were ready for things they didn't know they needed. And we also need to be open to someone saying you need a better social presence. Right? I'm grateful that he didn't say that on day 6. Because we're pretty blown apart by then. Okay, so to close this out, we're creeping up on 54 minutes here, and I gotta go figure out how I bungled this with YouTube Live and Facebook Live. But this will also, this will be recorded and we'll upload it to YouTube if it didn't record accurately. You're local, and that's where I wanted to finish. Like, these are your trails, and you and I talked about this in a pre-call. Like, last year was a collarbone grinding factory because conditions were really dry, and we're looking at dry again this year. Like, that's not normal. Usually by the time the race arrives, we've had, that late July, early August monsoon period where we get a lot of precipitation every afternoon. And then Summit County's trails drain water magnificently. Like, they're just the right combo of organic and mineral. And we're seeing, one end of the spectrum of that this year. We saw like, that monsoon season preps for the race. The courses are in great shape when we get there. How are you setting your bike up differently? What would this isn't really, you're an athlete. I think you're qualified to answer this question. I know what I think I would tell people to do. What would you tell people? Like, you're there, you're riding right now.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, there's so much variability in the course, right? It's like you've got a super chunky rocky descent, but then you've also got like the kitty litter kind of gravel, and then you've got the Colorado Trail descent off of Gio, right? Like, there's so much variability in it. So,
which has all of those things, right?
Yes. So I run a pretty high tire pressure. Like, I'm like 23, 24 for the sake of not getting a flat.
Yep.
Because then I would rather have a little bit higher tire pressure and then have to deal with a flat. But I've always done that. That's always been my MO since I started riding on carbon wheels, however long ago. That works well for me. And I'm on my Juliana Wilder, which is perfect for something like the Breck Epic.
Is the Wilder the tall boy equivalent?
It's the Blur.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is a great bike. It's it's the like the Yeti ASR is kind of a lighter version of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something between the ASR and the SB120 is the perfect bike. If I was going to ride it, I would be on an SB120 for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
But the ASR and the Blur has always been like that. Like, it has a big bike feel for a smallish travel bike.
Yeah.
I like Leah van der Linden won the elite women's race last year on the same set of tires. She didn't flat once. Mm-hmm. She rode Conti Dub Natals. I think 2.4 front and rear, so pretty high air volume tire. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk with Leah and Jeanette Sherman later in the podcast series, and we're going to specifically drill down into tires. And nice. Sherman and van der Linden are both unicorns, right, in their own way.
They will have a lot more to say about that than I can. I would listen to them.
And I think, when you're riding at race pace in dry conditions here, the adage on tires is ride what you're comfortable riding. Like, ride the tread, I know that the Conti, specifically after they redid some of their tire compounds and casings, Conti's a great tire for here. It's grippy. And grippy is key, without kind of slowing you down. If you're not going to lower air volumes, because there are some places specifically at the bottom of that descent where there's some square edge rocks. Wheeler, the descent off Wheeler is the same. You're not going to flat going up Wheeler because you're walking, right? But I think about air volume, like having maybe not a huge tread, but a big tire. That's a good way to get through dry conditions. What locals were saying last year was that they were blowing through corners. Like, they know what their comfortable speed is going through corners. And like, they were blowing through corners by 20, 30 feet at their normal riding speed just because it was dry. So that slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Think about that.
That's Just trying to teach my 5-year-old that concept today when we were watching the UCI downhill.
There's so much to
Slow and
unpack in what you
fast.
just said. Oh man, my mom was taking me to Taco Bell when I was 5, which explains a lot. I love every single word of that sentence that you just told our audience. Before we go, give us your Instagram handle and your website one more time.
Yeah, Uri_Carlson_nutrition. Just type in URI underscore and you'll see something pop up on Instagram. And then InnerWild Nutrition, INNERWILD nutrition.com. Like, just if you have questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram or find Mike and he'll connect you with me. Send me a voice memo or whatever it is. I try to be pretty reachable in my Instagram DMs or in comments and stuff like that. I think it's important to communicate with people. So it's a real person behind that Instagram profile. So just get in touch.
I think that's a great way to wrap up. Uri isn't with us because we identified this incredible gaping need for a nutritionist, although that also is true. Yuri's with us because I think the way that I feel is that she's reflective of us. She makes people feel seen. Her body of knowledge is pretty incredible, and how she can tie it to this place is a huge asset. We're really, really lucky to have you with our team. I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank everyone who is attempting to view this or is viewing it after the fact. I thank you for your patience. We'll figure this out. And as I said in the email, like, you figure it out by doing it. And, you're all part of the beta test. We're going to meet with Uri and Taylor more throughout the summer. We're going to drill down into some specifics. Please do get in touch. If you can't find her, find me, and I'll connect you. For the moment, though, this was the Breck Epic Podcast. Easy to remember. Summer 2026. I have been joined by Uri Carlson, owner of InnerWild Nutrition, Breck Epic's official nutritionist, mom, rider, athlete, great person. Uri, say goodbye to the folks at home.
Thanks for having me. We'll be back. We'll be in touch. This won't be the last time.
We absolutely will be back. We'll see you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're on at 1:30 today with Stefano Barberi, who just wrapped up Unbound 200. He raced with us for the first time last year. And then later this week, we have Jeff Kirkcove and Chris Joyce. We're going to talk Mega. We have Taylor Brower, who from SkratchLabs, who we're going to talk at a 10,000 foot level of what we're going to have here. We're going to dig into Aid 4, which is the recovery zone in the Epic Athlete Village, and then dig into the pre-order program. And then lastly, we have Andrea Dvorak, who has raced at the pro level in just about everything, on the road in Europe, some big, hard, long efforts, which is what she's gravitating to. She's got several belt buckles with us, and last year raced the Mega. She also is a mover and shaker in the National Interscholastic Cycling Association. She's got deep roots in bringing kids along for the ride. And from what I see of the U23s and juniors, she, Amanda Carey, all of NICA, all of the Colorado League are doing an amazing job. Kids are real fast right now. Uri, thank you. It's been a treat.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll talk.